Hey, Travel Brats
Happy Travel Brat Tuesday. It's Soph.
and Nat, and we are coming to you live with our guest, Eric Travers, who has been captivating audiences since his teenage years. Eric has solidified his status as a seasoned musician in the vibrant Asheville music scene. Hailing from the mountains of Black Mountain, North Carolina, Travers first made his mark as the heartbeat behind an acclaimed rock and roll band, a jam band, Travers Brothership, which he co-founded with his brother Kyle at just 13 years old. Over the past 15 plus years, the group has amassed an impressive catalog of 35 plus published tracks and extensive touring experience.
Now, at age 31, Travers has reached new heights in 2024 with the release of his latest single, Dead End Street, and his new role as owner and CEO of the All Aboard Records label. Drawing from his diverse musical background in rock, Americana, and blues, Travers' emotive performances and melodic sensibilities have earned him a dedicated following across Western North Carolina and beyond, cementing his role in the local music scene. With the launch of his latest project, the Eric Travers Band, this versatile multi instrumentalist is primed to take his artistry to thrilling new levels.
Eric, I just have to say how exciting this is to read all of this out loud to our audience, because for those travel brats out there listening, Eric and I have been friends for many years. I met him and his twin brother when we were in high school. You guys were freshmen, and I was a sophomore, and we were in theater class together. And these guys, I mean, they were only a couple years into their band and their musicianship, and to see them just skyrocket over the last 15 plus years has been really cool. So, as a friend, I want to welcome you, but also as a special guest, Eric, I'm so glad to have you on our podcast today.
Oh yeah, it's great to be here. It's been very, very awesome watching you develop your career as well, Natalie, and seeing that you've followed theater because seeing myself and my brother in theater, we always thought we were the drama cats because our whole family is full of drama, so to speak. But then again, watching you do it was a complete natural sense of, oh goodness, how do we do this? We thought we were funny with the improvisation until we watched Natalie.
She's great.
But it's great to see you again here in a position as not just friends, but joining your podcast, The Travel Brats.
We're so excited to have you here. And I want to start by just getting to know you. I know I'm kind of the third wheel here, but I want to have some fun and just really get to know you because you've done so many cool things in your short lifespan so far. Eric, how did you get started in music and what inspired you to pursue it as a career?
Well, my father was a career musician, and he always had instruments and fellow musicians around. That's how I was able to become a drummer. He sat me down and said, "Watch this drummer while I play so I can watch you." Because we didn't really have too many babysitters, but my first real drum set was gifted whenever I was 8 or 9. He got me this drum set, and then one of his drummers put new professional drum heads on it. And it always blew my mind every time. Just was a dream of mine to just always find some attention from anybody that I could do. Just uh, really find some motives that would bring me to see, I guess, what I could do for other people, like make them smile. But we were playing air guitar. When I say we, my twin brother, and we would always dream of doing anything. So we would play air guitar for our cousins when we were around 3 or 4, and seeing their reaction, this was our end goal. We knew what we wanted to do. It was a natural way of life by that time, 3 or 4.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you and Kyle were always so full of personality and charm and energy. And as you said, I mean, you guys really were the funny, entertaining guys. And so to be able to channel that into performing and making this a career is pretty awesome. But when did you actually, what would you consider to be your first real performance? When did you start really performing? And then when did you start touring?
That's got a couple different answers. Like you said, when did you start touring? When was your first performance? And I would say my first performance was with my dad on bass guitar and my first drum set. We played some Elvis Christmas song. What was it called? It wasn't "Please Come Home for Christmas," but well, it's Christmas time, pretty baby. Santa Claus is back in town. That's what it is. And we performed regularly though, and started touring when we were 15 or 16. I moved out of my dad's house. I couldn't stand him anymore. He wasn't supporting my music as much. He's go to college, do the dishes, do this and that. And I'm 16. I'm like, no, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make music. So he's, well, fine, fine then, do that. And I guess we would drive from Brevard to Marion with our band Caution Tape. That's when we were in high school, around the time when we met in theater, and Travers Brothers Band, and we were a just a four-piece rock band, two that were class of 2012. I was 2011, and I think you were 2010, Natalie, but that's whenever we really started going, because as soon as I realized that we could make money after our first show, believe it or not, my first paying show was at a speakeasy. It was
How cool.
in Marion, no, Old Fort. It was a spot there because I believe Old Fort was a dry town. You couldn't buy alcohol there.
Hmm.
And they had a spot where you could, of course, and they called it Sheriff's Spot because they paid off the sheriff. And we went there, sure enough, there's Confederate flags everywhere. And my dad, he's a Yankee, but they're like, oh, Yankee Bob, he's coming down here. So this is that, this and that. He brought his sons down. They're gonna play some tunes, but that was a culture shock. But we didn't know what was going on. Later on, we figured it out, and we were like, wow, that's some real Southern rock and roll stuff right there. And then it turns it into, we made our first money, and my dad stole it. Yeah, that's him as a musician. That's what that was. But as soon as we developed transportation, that was able to provide me like a spot to sleep. I slept in a van, and I told the guys like, "Hey, come on, let's go on tour." And they're like, "Well, we don't have anything else to do except for high school, so might as well get paid to do something." But yeah, I can get say that my time freed up at around college time, the beginning of that, and that's whenever I began touring and then left college. But yeah, as soon as we could drive, we started touring. We made
That's
a
great.
we made about $200 every Thursday in Greensboro, a 2.5 hour drive where we just developed a way to become as rehearsed as possible. We didn't even realize what we were doing. I guess we were given Adderall, and we were like, "Oh, this is a way to drive somewhere and to be in a position and to where this and that." So we I guess we were 16, you know. We didn't know what we were doing.
Mhm.
Living the true teenage rock star life.
Yeah, it wasn't too good.
Now, Eric, how would you describe your music style and how would you say has it evolved over time?
Well, they're roots, you know, just all roots of American music. And my dad liked to say that blues had a baby and named it rock and roll
Mhm.
because his sister Rosetta Thornton, she wrote Hound Dog. Nobody knows about that. A female black singer, and Elvis made it famous. So she wrote rock and roll music, and as soon as my brother and I started playing, it was in a band called the Predators with a Z, and we were 11 and 13. Uh, so we played music. This was when we ended up playing our first show. We had this guy Christian Ralston on bass, and I remember we won the talent show. I had asked out this beautiful, beautiful girl, and she said no early in the year. And by the time after the talent show, we won that, and she asked me out. I said, no, now you only like me for my popularity. So
Wow, Eric, that's a great story. Was this the talent show where my sister and I got second place to you guys?
this was before then, but
Oh. Oh, you were young. This was young.
this
Because
was young. This was young, but yes, I do remember that.
in high school, there was a talent show and it was awesome. And my sister and I did a duet where I played piano and we sang. And then, of course, Eric and Kyle Travers came and just rocked the house down and they beat us.
They took your gold.
Mhm.
Well, you took our silver. So I've always silver better than gold. So that that that's whenever I started to realize that I guess siblings could do anything whenever you combine efforts, and it's great to see that you remember that because I almost forgot that after a long time just uh, not doing what you need to be doing, or having some difficulties which we can get into later about mental health that can bring your memory to be not as good. But as far as the talent shows go, our caution tape band turned into the Travers Brothership band, and that's whenever we got to have the opportunity to see the Brower sisters perform with Nat. So, Sophia, let me catch you up though. My brother and I, we founded a very successful band at the age of 18, and we were called Travers Brothership. We wanted to be your funk band. We liked our idea of I guess I had a saxophone player in the I guess the jazz band in college at Warren Wilson College, and we wanted to be funkadelic and this and that, and then 2016 they left. They got picked up, sure enough, by the biggest guitar player that you can. He's the most popular guitar player. Marcus King is his name. In 2 months, 2 months ago, he released a single, and it already has 20 million views on that. And he stole our horn section, man. It wasn't cool. So we had to go 4 piece and replace our bass player because our bass player had a baby. They met at a show. A lot of our friends met their wives and met their girlfriends at shows, but we had no choice but to be a jam band because that's what people wanted to hear. That's what drew in the money and kept the audience on their toes, just hearing loud drums and loud guitar. We had to stick to our guns and give the audience a powerful sound all the time.
Mm, yeah. Now, with all that in mind, what is for you the most exciting part about traveling for your music?
It's the landmarks. It's I could be in a van. They say, that if you're on the road and you can become not addicted to it, but it can make you crazy. They say that as far as being on a spot to where you can just stare out the window. I can look out the window and just watch the clouds go by while we're driving by them, and it's just amazing. It's one thing, but I made sure that we would see as many national parks as possible. That was our main goal, and we wanted to focus on really our mental health again and our physical health, because sitting in a van is no fun overall. I try to say that there's perks to it, but there's not. We're just sitting down the whole time, and then really just going back and seeing cultures and different arts, new places was really really the best thing you could say. So whenever we return to a place, we'd be able to find friends, but new places is better than that because you're really accepting something else.
Yeah. Now, were there any national parks that kind of left the biggest impression on you?
Yeah, we were actually really really lucky to travel to Colorado when we were 18. We got in touch with an agency. I was just, hey, how you doing? We're from Asheville, and they're like, cool. Want to come to Colorado? We're called Rocky Mountain Artists, and I'm like, oh, this is real. I've gotta got to get my van inspected and call up the guys and see if they're down. I would do that. I would shoot in the dark. I would go and just go with what I could, and so as soon as we did that, we hit Colorado and went to Red Rocks. That's
Mhm.
Mm.
really that was always a dream. I had never played Red Rocks, but we did a photo shoot there, and we went to Joshua Tree as well. That was amazing. I didn't even know what was going on. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard
Wow.
amazing things about Joshua Tree. So that's really cool. I didn't know that you guys had been able to see so many national parks. I love that aspect and that you worked so hard to not just kind of rot in a van, and to say, "Hey, let's see the world. Let's not only experience the art and the culture and the music scene of whatever city we're in, but also experience the landmarks and the world around us and the geography." And I mean, yeah, we live in such a beautiful country to be able to say that you've been to a place like Joshua Tree and the Red Rocks. I mean, those are on people's bucket lists. Like that's just amazing.
Oh, they are on people's bucket list. Sometimes I like to complain if my career's not doing what I want it to. I like to picture, oh, well, it could be a lot worse. I've done this, and I'm like you said, I've done a lot at my age, and it's really, really, really nice to understand. It's emotional, and
Mm,
I guess riding in a van wasn't an option because I think we were a lot more in tune and got advice from other musicians. And one thing they said was bring baseball mitts and bring a baseball because you're going to get sick of that van and you need to go to a rest area and you need to stretch and think about other things that you could do together to be able to keep the camaraderie without necessarily completely losing focus with business and just music to be able to do something else.
Hmm.
Right. Now, Eric, this is super interesting. I'm kind of curious to know how traveling to new places in general has kind of inspired your music and your writing.
Well, like I guess like you said on the biography, I did recently, maybe recently, as in last year, I released a song called Dead End Street that was really inspired by just anyone in a position to where you're by a river, you put your sand in the feet, well, your feet in the sand. But you end up in different situations that can really bring you back home for the nostalgia of being home because really you're somewhere else, but yeah, it reminds you of home because whenever you're gone, you lose that. You lose that a lot. So writing about home when you're gone was a big part of it. But I would say that some of the songs that were really inspired while gone on tour were really times whenever we would notice culture changing. Culture would change a lot of different places and we'd be able to write about it.
I love that. And did you find that like any of the art scenes specifically, not only affecting your songwriting, but did these cultures, did these experiences, did they affect the performances themselves, or did you guys feel like you stayed pretty consistent?
We had a set. We had a set, and that was mainly a set that was written to provide. I would say a typical set started coming after we had a manager. A manager, they want you to play the same thing over and over again, but we would always adapt to the different places we would play. Say if we were playing for an audience full of I guess what you would call a hippie, you know, they're it's a real term, and we would play music that would last longer, take an adventure for the audience. And say if we were somewhere such as Europe, they they're looking at us, hiring us as a blues band. We're like, oh, we get hired other places as a jam band, and we get hired here as a rock and roll band. We get hired here as a jazz band, and to be in Europe as a blues band, that's awesome. You know, it's like, okay, so boys, we're about to play a bunch of blues, and that was something we knew how to do.
Mm,
Well, that's really, really neat. Now, would you say that out of all the cities you've been to, were there any that surprised you creatively?
Oh, I I would say New Orleans. New Orleans was a gas. I didn't I didn't know how to handle it. It was an experience that I can't go back and even try to relive in my own brain. I I was I I went down there with my pitcher off a wooden bat baseball league that I joined specifically to get away from the van. I joined a league to find a different identity away from music. So I joined a wooden bat baseball league, and our pitcher was a pitcher for LSU. I don't know how that happened, but I
That's
was like,
awesome.
"Hey man, we're going to New Orleans, man." And he just looks at me and he's like, he was way too cool. I couldn't compete. And he's like, "All right, cool." And Sure enough, got a rental car. We end up going to a festival. I had one of the coolest experiences of my life there. We performed alongside the some of the members of the Rolling Stones. We performed alongside Old Crow Medicine Show, which we knew their banjo player, grew up with him. We used to call him the White King of Soul because he would sing some James Brown whenever we went to Winston-Salem. I looked at, I had a sense with the guys in Travers Brothership. This is all the same project that I've been speaking of. And I'd look at him and be like, that guy, he's going to be famous. He's got it. And they're like, all right, I'll take you up on that. It's the same thing as looking down at the ground and being like, there's going to be a four-leaf clover there. And that's what I would follow magic and anytime I could. But going to New Orleans, we got to perform with all these people, and I had intuitive moments that happened, and magic came. I could continue, and there was a time where I left. I had a seizure. I woke up, went sleepwalking, and hit my head, and I had a black eye. So, sure enough, I had a black eye, and I'm in New Orleans by myself. Those guys wouldn't go out with me. I'm like, you realize George Porter Jr. is playing Monday at the spot? He's playing at the spot, guys. Like, and they're like, oh man, come on, dude. We're asleep. But I I I I never partied. I'm epileptic. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't doing this or that. And sure enough, I go there and I walk up, and I don't know if you know Two Bob Crew from Asheville. They play very,
Yes.
very, very Oriental culture shock music with a kora. And my buddy Justin Perkins leads the band, and Terrence Houston also plays with George Porter Jr., who was the pretty much inventor of funk music. And funk music has its own thing. That's what we wanted to be. So I went there, and he's like, Asheville's in the house. I'm like, they got to be talking about me. Someone recognizes me here. I was geeking, like, somebody knows who I am. So I walk over to this, like, it was like a 2018 brand new car. Dodge Charger with white stripes going on. He's rolling a blunt. He's like, "What's up, man?" I'm like, not much, just trying to be cool like you." And sure enough, we end up in a spot to where I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, "Yeah, man, you're one of my favorite drummers, and this and that." And I'm trying to learn how to just be, not a fan. So I was geeking out for a second. I was my first beat was the Texas Shuffle, and then it was the Bo Diddley beat, and then this guy like reaches up. He's like, "I was Bo Diddley slide guitar player," and he was like 80 years old, and I was like, "What?" And his name was Brent Anderson, and then I'm like, "Hey, so get me in there, right?" And uh, and he's like, "First of all, you shouldn't be down here by yourself." And I'm like getting a lecture. I'm like, "Oh no." And then he looks at me. He's like, "I'll get you in, but you got to buy me a shot of Crown Royal." I'm like, "Okay,
Deal.
I'll buy you a shot of Crown Royal." Even though he could get it for free, it was kind of principle. So I walked in, and it goes on and on. This guy jumps to the top of the stage. He was John Baptiste's cousin, and his name was Russell Baptiste, and he just played the best drums of his life. He didn't pass away much longer after, but I'm like running to the front of the stage. I looked at him. I was clearly more intrigued than anybody in the audience as a drummer. And so after a while, he's looking at me like, I get what's going on. This is another drummer playing the games. He's playing the games. So we met after the show, and I have a black eye, so I'm like, "What's up? What's up?" I took mushrooms too. I had a black eye, and I was on magic mushrooms, and that was just part of what was going on. This story goes on, and eventually, by the end of it, I met Ivan Neville of the Rolling Stones, and the Neville and Dumpster Funk is his main project, and he actually, him and I, this was the most amazing moment. He's like, "Who are you?" Kind of, he knew who I was, but he wanted me to say it, you know. I'm like, "Man, that doesn't matter, man. You're Ivan Neville," and he's like, "Yeah." And I started singing to him. I was like, "So we're gonna take a picture, right?" And there, the picture wasn't a selfie, not at all. It was facing the other way, but it was our shadows. And he's like, "No, no, 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 no. Take it like that." I'm like, "Bro, oh, I get it. It's because our shadows are the same color." And I started singing him this civil rights song I was working on, and he's like, "Send me that picture." And I had his number after that, and so forth. We got connected. That was my biggest cultural experience of my career, I've got to say.
Well, they do say
That
that
is
well, they do say that New Orleans is a cultural hub.
It's wild to say that it's so France oriented there.
mhm.
Yeah, you have that, like, French culture, the African culture, the Spanish culture. It's a really neat place. I mean, not just for food, because that's always my favorite part, but music. The music is incredible, and then just the history is really cool because you have that influx of all those people. So, really cool story, Eric. Wow. What is that? What's that little tune that goes, "I've been everywhere, man." Yeah, you really have. Oh.
I always forget the food part. That's one thing is going to different places, experiencing the different food. But I feel like everywhere we went, we were still upset that there wasn't a Bojangles.
Aw. Yeah.
We,
Oh,
we
yeah.
wanted we wanted our Southern biscuit.
Mhm, mhm. Now, how do you I mean, I guess you've kind of answered this question in a roundabout way about how you balance sightseeing and enjoying the places you're going with your performance schedule. It sounds like you kind of aimed to either build that in when you were traveling, or you would squeeze it in because of how important it was to you. Would you say that that's true?
Well, we would squeeze it in whenever it was coming to last minute and we got invited to something like this situation. Like the guys wanted to go to sleep, and I wasn't. I was gonna go out and figure something out. Where I had to squeeze it in, and it worked out to where I ended up with everybody's phone number, and it worked for marketing. And but when we had time to plan it, our booking agent, he'd be like, "What do you guys think about going to Mobile, Alabama, where you are, Sophia?" And Soph. So we would figure out, all right, so what's on the way from, say, if we're coming from South Florida and going to Mobile, it was like, so what's in between here and there? Nothing. But
Yeah.
sure enough, we would end up at the beach. We had to go to the beach. That I mean, there's no better place to go than the beach when you're on the road. So that's the best spot to do whenever you're in Florida. We had a couple chances to do that and didn't do it, and we regretted it immediately.
Mm.
But yeah, we would hear from the booking agent, Natalie, and he'd tell us where we wanted to go, and we'd be like, well, we want to spend one day at the beach. We wanted to maybe go one day doing the national park, say if we're going into Colorado. And he's like, well, that's not an option. It's like, well, you're gonna have to make it an option, or you can give us one day before or one day after the tour, and we'll make our own little exception. It all depended on how much money was offered. But
Mm.
but sightseeing was very much so a priority.
Well, we love that as travel brats. You got to make that a priority.
It
And
is.
yeah, and why not? You're in this life path where you're getting to basically see so many more cities, countries, towns than anybody would in their regular life. You might as well enjoy it for yourself. And again, like you said, for your healing and your rest, because you guys are jamming. Your jam band is jamming, and you do need that rest to go to a beach one day and just take a nap, or to go see the nature in a national park and kind of refuel your mind and your soul. Now, I want to know, I'm really curious what it's like performing in new cities or countries where the audience may not know your music. I know you'd mentioned, this place wanted you to do more blues and this place wanted you to jam. And so how was that?
They all knew what was coming. They they knew the brothership was coming, and Travers Brothership. So it was like, all right, we got brothers coming, so we need a brother experience. And if we didn't give them a brother experience, then it wasn't happening. So we would have to get in that original music zone. We'd have to continue writing, and when it came to our set, we'd have to distract them. Like we didn't have enough original material. Say we would play our original tunes, stick in a couple cover tunes that would fit the crowd, or say if we're at a fraternity party, which really paid, those parties, they want to dance to Jungle Boogie all day. And they want to anything that's gonna not just please their dancing appetite, but their drinking appetite. It's a big drinking culture. A lot of places we go to, and say at local bars, they want to hear Mustang Sally, and if they yell "free bird," we we give them their free bird, and they did not like that. My brother was very, very strict about what we would play and what our own guidelines were, because we didn't come there to play the music that you chose for us to play. We came there to play what we wanted to play.
Right. And that's why people come to see you and what you want to play. You're the brand, you're the band. Now,
Yeah.
I am really curious, and you don't feel like you have to go in depth on it unless you want to. But what was the most interesting, or maybe the better word would be wild, fraternity and slash college that you played for?
It was in Alabama. We would go to Mobile, Alabama, and Phi Gamma Pi. Um, they would pay us so well, and I guess the wild experiences. I didn't like hanging out much. I wasn't a college kid, you know. I didn't.
Mm.
I was a sober band member, but my brother, however, he's the guitar player with blue eyes and dark hair, and I had my thing going on. I'm the drummer, and eventually we started setting me up more towards the front of the stage.
So, when you guys are prepping for a tour, how do you typically go about that? Does the prep change depending on where you're performing, or is it pretty much the same no matter what?
Well, when it comes to the normal routine of making sure we have everything in the trailer, the oil is changed, and tires are good. Always get a baseball bat and hit the tires with it. You gotta really, really, really make sure we got the right funds. So to begin with, I told everyone, like, I realized how strict I was. After a minute, I was like, "Look, guys, if you don't have food stamps, you're not going on the road, and you're gonna be hungry." And sure enough, everyone got food stamps, and it's not like we were not getting anything we weren't eligible for. You know, it was just a point of vulnerability and becoming humble. But because we were traveling a longer lengths, we made sure we brought more clothes when we did that, and I wrote a song called I guess this goes back to your question about riding and touring. I wrote a song called All I Need Is the Clothes on My Back. I would go on tour with 5 days. I'd bring two pairs of blue jeans and then sleep in my blue jeans and do this and that. It was because I was in the van, and if I slept with my blue jeans, I wouldn't have to change when I woke up. I didn't know what I was doing. I was 18 years old, 19 years old. Like I just left my dad's house 2 years ago, and I'm figuring out how to be an adult. And I guess really making sure we were provided I guess the right mental stability would be a way to prepare for a show. Say if we're all getting along, and just really tough whenever we're not nutritiously packing, such as like the right food. But it would change, and we would wear different T-shirts and different uh, I guess hats depending on where we went. You know, if we're going to Black Mountain, where I'm from, and where you're from, Natalie, we'd wear a Pisgah Brewing Company hat, and that's our hometown venue. Shout out. But we always dressed one step above the audience. Say if we played a theater, um, we didn't wear a collared shirt. We would probably wear a suit jacket and a collared shirt, just one step ahead to where we didn't look like we were not on a stage. We needed to have that much of a pedestal and selfishness to be able to show people that we were centric enough to perform for them.
I really love that. I mean, honestly, I think Natalie does too. I think it's better to be overdressed than underdressed. And you guys are just representing your brand very well. I've been to concerts before where the players have come out and just seem like they didn't really care when you're so excited to come see them. And, they're not singing great and they're not dressed, some of them don't wear clothes enough or, it's unless that's their whole thing. But I think that's a really neat thing that you guys did and kind of unique. I also think what you said about just preparing for tours and being on the road. I think a lot of people think that being a popular musician is such a um, fancy, glamorous lifestyle. And yeah, you guys are doing what you love. I mean, I'm sure you're so just loving your work and doing what you love. But I think it's a reality that people forget that you guys work really hard and you're always on the road and the van life is hard. You're away from home, like you said, you're away from home and you're writing about it. You're cramped up, you need those breaks. So to just kind of get an inside look at your life has been really cool. Now could you walk us through maybe what a typical day looks like for you and what your routine is?
We were a democracy. We all had to vote and go through what we needed to figure out how our routine would go. So we were told by someone that if you make a to-do list at nighttime, then you're going to have a better way of moving forward towards the next day. So our routine would change day to day, but overall, we had to find places to crash. That I looked at everybody. Sure enough, I wasn't doing the right thing, but I I'm like, if we're getting paid certain places $100 per night for a whole show, guys, we can't afford a hotel if you want to get 25 bucks in your pocket. And when we woke up, we had to be out. We had to make sure we were ready, and then we'd travel, play another show, and then we'd have to find another spot to sleep. it was all finding another spot to sleep, and then in between, we would go and sightsee as much as possible, and, it really wasn't, anything and I feel very vulnerable for saying that, but, the day of show instructions, followed a lifestyle of, really being healthy, and, that required sleep. So,
Mm,
the road rules were to just rely on each other and get back on the road as soon as possible. Keep your clothes clean, keep your face clean, and get in the shower. We'd take turns getting in the shower, and then we'd split.
mm,
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, with all that you just said, it definitely makes me think about how then did you actually manage the physical and mental toll of constant travel, late nights, and performing? I mean, obviously, you've said already you are an epileptic, and it sounds like you are a pretty good taskmaster, being, the leader of the group and making sure that everyone was trying to stay healthy. You talked about like eating nutritiously and trying to save on, I mean, because of financial astuteness is also important in all of this, but that even in all of the like not knowing where you were going to sleep that night, that you still put sleep on such a high pedestal, I think is so important. I mean, I know as a performer as well that rest is, I mean, your instrument is the drum set, but it's also your physical body, right? Like
mhm.
you have to take care of yourself. And so, yeah, just I'd love to hear more about how you guys managed the physical and mental toll of all of this.
Sleep was such a big pact and impact and on making sure we performed great the next day. And when it came down to it, if we didn't have that, it was not working out. So say if we're in a position to find good sleep, but we're also in a position to party, the party isn't going to put us in the right spot. But
Mm.
the more time that we spent in between getting off the stage and the bus was bad, such as hanging out in the bar or the time spent between, I guess, the time off stage and the time we leave for the next tour. But overall, if we're out there and we're learning, we're learning the whole time. The experience that I had, I guess you would say, partying, we've just failed. We would fall, and I guess you could imagine over 13 years of touring. If I was in a position mentally and I had a girlfriend a lot of the time, most just every time we went on tour, and that's good, but you don't get to see your girlfriend, and it's a hard thing. And my brother, he had a kid while he was on tour. That was really a hard thing. So I would say most of the time whenever we're trying to find that routine and get through a position of healthiness, what happened was we would end up in situations to where we would learn from our mistakes, and that happened often, especially finding random spots to stay. We would end up with drama. Drama's no good.
Yeah.
Neither are late nights.
no. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I want to transition just a little bit and ask you, Eric, about how has the role of just the age of technology, social media, online engagement played in your audience connection while you're traveling?
Yeah, it's It's the largest role. Keeping fans interested can be challenging, and there's only so much you can do. But the strong personality that that you can have while doing things is a struggle in the business. If you're not somebody that is able to really relate with fans, then that's not a good way to do it. But says stepping back a little bit, I'm still in thought, and how engagement and social media plays into effect. You know, I totaled two vans while I was on the road and had seizures, and this created PTSD. But you know what we did? We created a GoFundMe, and
Mm.
on social media, we raised, I would say, $10,000 to buy a new van, and,
Wow.
I guess, you know, I wasn't drunk, I had a seizure. We eventually, did become alcoholics with poor health, but, you know, all in time, everybody becomes healthier, but our backs still hurt over all this, and, you know, now a lot of us struggle with, manic depression and PTSD, and if you're not healthy and if you're not getting health while engaging with your audience on social media, then you're going to be not set. It plays the
Mm.
largest role. Social media does.
That's a great
That's
point.
huge.
Yeah, I think it can be so helpful and so hurtful if you don't know how to just manage social media and understand that there are trolls and it does suck the life out of you, a lot. So, yeah, wow.
And Eric, I really appreciate just your overall vulnerability in all of this, in sharing what it's really like. Because we hear all sorts of stories about what it's like in the life of a musician, and you're just really giving us and our travel brats some good highs and lows of what it's like, and some of the hardships and challenges, while also giving us some of the epic and amazing moments like your experience in New Orleans. But I wanted to ask, what would you say are some of the overall weirdest or funniest things that have happened to you during your tours?
Well, that list could go on and on and on, but some of the first things that happened and it happened in was us being kids. We were kids, and we would get turned on to different people. We would think these people are amazing. You know, it was, oh my gosh, you realized I was hanging out with so and so's cousin. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that doesn't matter. But you know, one day we were hanging out with a sheriff and Bailey boy, old Bailey boy. He's driving down the old country roads of Colquitt, Georgia, going 120 miles per hour in his cop car. I don't think he cared or nobody else cared. And I rode in the car with Bailey boy, and I guess my brother rode in the car with the sheriff, and we rode to a peanut factory, peanut farm, and we just climbed to the top of this old peanut tower, at the very top, and I think some moonshine was involved. My brother wanted to pee off the tower. Sure enough, I think we might have gotten peed on a little bit. It wasn't raining, but that's one of the weirdest things and one of the worst things that's ever happened. But it was all worth it to be able to, tell you that my brother did receive a handcuff key, a universal handcuff key from a sheriff. Someone who inspired me was Billy Strings. He is someone we played with. Now he just off the charts. He just did Austin City Limits 50th anniversary. So Billy Strings, we played with him. one time, I'll say it again, we played with Billy Strings. So he hooked us up with that gig in Greensboro when we were
Mm.
17 years old. Sadly enough, our uncle Ian, our I guess we call him our uncle. He opened us up to big philosophers like Henry David Thoreau and books that Ram Dass had done about being here, be here now in the moment. And he this is the sad part about certain cultures. He did all the sassafras, borrowed some money from these guys on old Tweed Springs Road in East California, well, East Tennessee, and looked. The name was Nipfly, and sure enough, borrowed money to pay back the Hell's Angels, and then he goes back over there and got shot and died.
Mm.
So there's a lot of good that happens in this industry, but sure enough, drugs, sex, and rock and roll.
That's really an interesting thing to hear, Eric. And it's something that, I mean, personally, I hope that can kind of be reformed and cleaned up in the music industry. I know that'll take a long time, but again, just for you guys' mental health, you're doing what you love. Music is wonderful. And it's already hard enough sober traveling around, trying to find places to stay, working with a team like your band. I mean, gosh, so no wonder, there have been struggles, but we just really, again, like Natalie said, appreciate you sharing all this with us and coming on the podcast. We totally think you should start your own podcast. Let us know when you do, because we will be listening to that. And
Yes.
I just want to ask you, kind of as a last question for the interview. Do you have a dream destination that you'd love to perform at that maybe you haven't yet?
I actually had a moment last year to where I was went to San Francisco. I got to record on the soundboard and for the Eagles. The same, well, not for the Eagles, but I stutter when I say this because it's such a big opportunity that I had because messed it up. But I have a couple stories that I've messed things up, which are hard to go into. But I was recording on the same soundboard as what the Eagles recorded Hotel California on, and it was a big deal. And they knew the guy who owned a little town and a little town hardware store in Yosemite. So he had a deal with who was it, Theodore Roosevelt, who developed all the national parks. We're fans, and sure enough, Theodore Roosevelt and this guy wrote a deal. Well, make that town hardware store part of the national parks for 100 years, say, and then your family can have the lease back, just as like they were drinking together and had a joke. And that's what the story entails. And sure enough, a few years ago, this guy had a had a Supreme Court um, deal court case and received the lease again for the town hardware store. So if it were to come down to a place for a destination for me to play, I would go back to national parks. I'm crazy about sightseeing and the beautiful views in America. One would be Yosemite, and another
Mm.
would be Red Rocks. And we made it to the Czech Republic, but it's not America. And there's a lot of beautiful places here, and you hear more about places here. And any big crowd is nice too.
Well, we
Yeah.
personally love that. Yeah, because Natalie and I love to travel. As much as we love to travel all over the world, we love our country. Like the United States just has so much to see, especially nature-wise, like the national parks, the mountains, the beaches, the plains, sea to shining sea. You get it.
Last thing, Eric, would you just tell our travel brats where they can find your music? Is it on Spotify, Apple Music, or any other platform? I know you have, your canon from the Travers Brothership, and then you also have music that you are creating with the Eric Travers Band and with All Aboard Records. So where can they find all of the music?
You can find it on Apple Music, Spotify. The coolest thing is, I I took Berkeley Publishing to learn more about All Aboard Records and how I could really find a way to learn more about releasing music. And there's a cool platform called DistroKid. And if you get on DistroKid and put your music on there, it puts it on Spotify, Apple Music, it puts it on YouTube. I would get on Spotify. You can find Dead End Street on Spotify and keep an eye out for my new EP to be released soon. I'm going to have some special guests on that, and that'll be fun. I'm excited to hear what Chris Bullock of Snarky Puppy is going to have on there. He plays the flute, and we're going to have a little duet on the album on a song called "Oh What a Year." So keep an eye out for that on Spotify as well. But for now, look on Apple Music, YouTube, all that good stuff, and you can find updates on Instagram at
Yeah,
All Aboard Records at symbol All Aboard Records, or
that's great.
or I guess Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook is good too. And we will have all of this in the episode notes as well as on the blog. We'll have information where you can find their music and learn more about Eric. It was so great to have you on. Thank you so much. It was good to see your face. I'm really glad that you're doing well, and it seems like you're just really flourishing. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm doing what I can, and I've had some fallouts and some holdbacks, setbacks, and it's been such a good time here today with the Travel Brats, the Soph and Nat, and you know, it's been a time to be had in the future too for All Aboard Records and my own music. I appreciate the respect.
Definitely, Eric. Thank you again so much. Travel Brats, leave us a rating and review if you enjoyed this episode with Eric, and go check him out, you guys, on all his channels, including Spotify for his music. And we will catch you guys on the next Travel Brat Tuesday.